we never want to be that building over there for those people. This is all
Oof.
about bringing us all together, recognizing we're all in this together and we all need each other to thrive.
Hi, I'm Megan Heritage, and this is the Positivity and Practice podcast. And we're here today with Barbara Lee, the executive director, but also the experimenter at Momentum Center. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on. So today we're going to learn about all things Momentum Center. And I think that we should start with, what is your role? I know that when we think of nonprofits, we usually have an executive director, but I love the fact that you call yourself an experimenter. What's that about?
So it's really about recognizing that my primary role as an executive director is to mentor experiences. It's also about the fact that everything we do is an experiment. We try something. If it works, we keep doing it. If it doesn't, we learn something, adjust, and do it another way.
Okay, I love that. And you have been there for how long?
I founded the nonprofit in 2015. At that point, we were called Extended Grace. And we were just working to connect people who wanted to make a difference with opportunities to do that while looking for gaps in the system. Biggest gap ended up being mental health, mental illness. So we opened the Momentum Center in 2017.
Okay, I love that. And this is a really broad question because you serve a lot of different populations in mostly Ottawa County, but we do go over the bridge and we can talk about that a little bit into Muskegon County and have some reciprocal experiences that have happened there. But who generally is the Momentum Center serving?
So the mission of the Momentum Center is to create a community where every person is fully visible and connected. And we do that in a couple of ways. We operate a social recreational program for people with mental illness, addictions, and disabilities, which basically means all of us at some point or another.
Fair enough, yeah.
And we also address the social determinants of mental health through community conversations and cultural immersion experiences.
Okay, so explain to me, I've been a part of actually a community conversation. Help me understand what exactly that means.
So we have events, town halls, and other events where we talk about the topics that are important. We don't shy away from controversy. We think the things that are the most difficult for us to have conversations about are the ones that are most important that we do that with. So right now we have a series of town halls going on relating to mental health. Every one of our conversations begins by going over our ground rules. We come together not to debate who's right or wrong,
Right.
but to be willing to share our experiences and feelings and listen to those of others. We come recognizing we all have hot buttons that can get triggered unintentionally, and we want to own those and take responsibility for those. So we go through our whole list of ground rules, and if everybody is fine with that, then we're able to proceed with our conversation. Our town halls are set up so that we have experts in whatever topic we're talking about to give us information and overviews. We have Q&A, and then we break into small groups for more in-depth conversation where we can share our own experiences and, again, learn from others. And then we move into large group to talk about next steps. How do we as individuals or as a community address whatever topic we've been discussing?
Yeah, I love the actionable item piece of that because my son Henry is in 6th grade and they learn the preamble to the Constitution. And so he came home and said, "Do you know the whole preamble to the Constitution?" And I said, at one point I did because we're all taught to memorize it, I think. But what I know and remember is the most important part. And he was like, "Oh yeah, what's that?" And I said, "We the people." And so he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, there's no, savior coming on this earth anyway that is going to fix all of these things. We need to look at it like, what can I individually do in order to be Christ's hands to serve in this particular space or this particular space or this particular space? And what do I know that might be meaningful or helpful in order, to serve in that space.
Absolutely. I think that too often when we look at the social issues that we're addressing, we can feel overwhelmed because it's too big to fix.
Right.
So, what I really try to focus on is what's the one thing that I can do? What's the one thing each of us can do? And then commit ourselves to doing that one thing. Because otherwise, when we're overwhelmed, we do nothing.
Right. And one of the things that I've seen you lean into, maybe before any of the other nonprofits in the area, is the LGBTQ plus space and really making space and a voice for that in Ottawa County. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, again, we are working to make sure that every person is fully visible and connected. And so our heart is really with folks that are traditionally marginalized.
Hmm.
We're always asking who's not at the table, who hasn't been included, so that we can be intentional. I think there's a lot of good meaning people who just say, well, everybody come on. But if you're not intentional about inviting people who don't feel welcome, they're not going to come to the table. So it really does take specific focus to create that safe space for people.
Well, and I think that one of the things that I really enjoyed in the panel that I sat on was the opportunity to have proximity and true connection with humans that I otherwise wouldn't have met, and have like, here's the thing about it. I don't believe we have to have an opinion about absolutely everything. I think there's some things that we just have not experienced. And so it's my job to show up in a space of compassion, empathy, and, do whatever I can in order to lean in with love and light. But I don't have to be the judge and jury of every situation, especially those that I don't understand because I haven't lived in that space.
Absolutely. And I really think the only way to truly grow and learn is relationally.
Yeah.
It's different to read an article or read a book. Having a conversation with somebody with lived experience really makes all the difference. And that's true not just in the LGBT community, but in all the places we're trying to reduce
Absolutely.
stigma and eliminate those stereotypes. It only happens relationally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so one of the projects that you're working on is, or not working on, you've been doing it for a while, is this Over the Bridge.
Across the bridge.
Across the Bridge. Sorry. Yes. Tell me about that.
So Across the Bridge is a leadership exchange between the Tri-Cities and Muskegon to address the cultural and racial divide right across our drawbridge. It's striking that the city of Grand Haven is still 94% white, which is quite a contrast to our neighbors just on the other side of the drawbridge. And so we work again to address the stereotypes, the fear that people express on both sides of the bridge
Right.
of moving into or even traveling through each other's communities. And we bring people for a 3-day, 2-night intensive. So it's really being in that space, meeting the people, lowering those thresholds of worry and fear and concern to build relationship. And as a result, more activity is happening across the bridge. People are engaging in business as well as in recreation and creating new and lasting relationships with each other.
Okay, so I sign up for this and then I go over the bridge. First of all, what bridge? Where am I going? And what does my couple of days look like?
You're crossing the drawbridge and you're spending 3 days and 2 nights. You would be spending that time in Muskegon.
Okay.
And then we would visit a variety of places. We'll talk to public safety. We'll tour Cole's Bakery. We'll visit the higher education institutions, the Culinary Institute, and the work that MCC is doing downtown. We'll spend time looking at how vibrant the Muskegon community
Yeah,
is,
I agree.
which is something I think we are not as aware of on this side of the bridge often.
Yeah, absolutely. When I moved here, we were going to Curry Kitchen, and at that time, me and Grace, and I was talking to people about, being in downtown Muskegon and all of these different places that I had found and all of that, and working on the Terrace Point Landing project was really, so John and I, my husband, started going to all restaurants in Muskegon to really learn Muskegon, beyond the ones that we had already found, because when we moved from Grand Rapids, we didn't have, we're really foodie people. And so we didn't have that. But it was wild to me to listen to people like talk about going over the bridge as if it was like some just, completely foreign experience in Muskegon. And is it safe? And I was selling houses in the Heights, and I've absolutely loved being in Muskegon, and I've loved watching the growth. I love Root Down. I love so many things there.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. And I'll tell you, some of my favorite eating places are in Muskegon Heights now. Corinne's,
Yeah.
you need to go to Corinne's. You need to go to the Chicken Coop.
Yeah. The chicken coop
Fabulous
is great. Yeah.
catfish. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think also just some of the surrounding spaces that are happening that are popping up in that downtown area too. Cause you can cross in and out of the Heights, and I can't even still know, even as a real estate broker, exactly, where I am.
Mm.
So what has been the outcome of what's the feedback that you've gotten from people who have done this immersive experience?
The feedback has been really important because it's not just about spending 3 days. It's, again, what's the result? How are we changed as a result of this experience, and how does it change the relationship between the communities? And so on both sides, there's simple things like people taking their whole work group to lunch on
Right.
the other side, right? And then there's also been real strategic partnerships that have formed, people joining boards, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's breaking down, again, those assumptions
Yeah.
about who is where and what interests are at stake, and recognizing that there's people in our backyard, literally, who are invested in the work we're doing, and that we need to be strategic about forming those partnerships.
Yeah, I've noticed that we did some work with Pathways, which is Shauna Hunter in the Heights. It's an unbelievable program. She does this thing on like a shoestring, and she's actually providing services that in Ottawa County would be provided governmentally. So she's creating respite care for people, families that, kids can now come after school into her environment and get additional learning, get leadership skills, get meals, do all of these things. It's wild to me to see how easy it is to fundraise in Ottawa County for some things,
Mm.
and then how difficult it is only a few miles away to get that same funding.
That can be true. It can also be the reverse because Ottawa is seen as a wealthy community.
Right.
The invisible poverty is often
Yeah. I know.
a
Yeah.
barrier to getting funds for meeting basic needs.
Okay.
So yeah, the grant world and the funding world and the donor world presents challenges across the board.
So that's a good segue into what is the biggest challenge that you have right now? What are some of the needs that the Momentum Center has?
I'd say one of the biggest needs right now is the social climate, creating a lot of anxiety in our public. The mental health is really a crisis right now. And part of the requirement, part of what we need to do in addressing mental health is also bringing education around mental wellness, mental health, and mental illness.
Yeah.
The fact that people are feeling a lot of stress does need to be addressed, but it's not necessarily a mental illness. And so we need to really be empowering people to understand that there are things they can do about their mental
Yeah.
well-being. And then we need to inspire ways in which people can seek mental health, mental wellness wherever they are on the continuum. I can have a mental illness and be well. I have a son with schizophrenia who's doing very well.
Mhm.
On the other hand, you can have a mental illness and really be doing poorly. And so we need to create spaces for access to both clinical and non-clinical services across that continuum. The same with just and I don't say just meaning that it's not important, but those who are experiencing a lot of mental stress right now that is not an illness also need those opportunities across the continuum for both clinical intervention and non-clinical therapy. And that's where we come in. We're the experts in non-clinical care and creating community and creating places where people can just share what they're going through. Just having somebody to talk to can make all the difference.
Yeah. And I know you do a lot of circles and groups for grief and If somebody is in that space, what does that intake look like? They call Momentum Center, and what happens?
So if you want to attend one of our support groups, you can just attend a support group. You don't need to be a member to do that. If you choose to be a member and participate in all of our programming, that costs $1 a year. And we do a safety intake. We make sure that you're safe for yourself and for the others that you'll be interacting with. But it's a very low barrier to entry.
Okay.
We even have scholarships if $1 is a burden for somebody, and for some it is.
Yeah.
For some it is. And then with that dollar, you can participate in everything. We have, we really fill the behavioral health script. So if you're seeing a clinician, chances are you're gonna visit, and then they're gonna say before our next appointment, eat well, take care of your physical body, get some exercise, and spend time with positive people.
100%.
A lot of folks in our society right now are so isolated that they don't know where to even begin doing those things. And that's where we come in. We provide exercise, meditation, yoga, arts and crafts, bingo, outings. We take outings at least once a week locally and further away at least once a month. And that's all included in that dollar membership fee. As I've said, all of us are going to experience something at some point.
Yeah.
So I tell people, if you want to join to take yoga for $1, do that. We want to stress early intervention and prevention as much as anything else.
Right. Yeah. In movies and I mean, so many breath work
Just
and so many
opportunities to have
different things.
fun.
Yeah. And connect, right? In a
Yep.
place where it's okay that you're vulnerable because it's a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if you want to, ask questions without condemnation and judgment about your own ignorance inside of a space, which I think has been one of the things that I've benefited from is saying like, wow, I don't really know a lot about that. I should lean into that and have a better understanding. And it's okay that I don't know. And it's great that we're being curious about what's really going on. You have Prom with a Purpose coming up, right?
Yes.
What's the date?
May 17th. It's a Saturday from 5 to 9. And Prom with a Purpose is so much fun. It is our major fundraiser of the year,
Okay.
but it's also an important part of our programming because it's about social integration. We bring together our members, our volunteers, our donors, anybody from the public who wants a prom do-over.
That's awesome.
Wants to relive
Who doesn't
their prom.
want a prom do-over?
Or relive your prom or go to the prom you never had. This one is available for everybody. And it is there's such a wide variety in that room. It's so much fun. Our members love it. They talk about it for months before and months after. And it's a group that you just don't see interacting together very often.
Well, that's always fun. Where is it this year? Sorry.
It's at the Trillium.
Okay.
Tickets are $40 a piece. We try to keep them
So
affordable.
cheap.
I mean, it's a great date night.
Yeah.
It's a night of dinner and dancing. We have a professional DJ. We have a pasta bar. We have a cash bar. We have raffles. It's just delightful.
And you do silent auction or no silent auction?
We
at this
moved
one?
from a silent auction to a raffle.
Okay, cool.
So lots of raffle items, and everybody has a chance. Then part of our rationale there was with the silent auction, only the people who had a certain level of means
Sure.
ever left with those gifts. With buying a ticket, everybody has a chance to leave with a prize.
Yeah, I will say it always feels weird. I was at one this week and there was a prize that I liked. And one of my friends had bid on the prize. And so I was like, well, I don't want to outbid my friend. So sometimes the silent auction piece of it gets a little awkward inside of that space. And I do think they're like, all of you as EDs are trying to rejudge and make it a little different then. But that one is really, I unfortunately, because my kids are lacrosse, we always start into tournaments in May. So I haven't been there, but I have had so many people say that it's an absolutely fantastic time. And I love, I had a group of girlfriends who went out and got dresses from Salvation Army and Goodwill and some of the resale stores and did sort of their 80s, 90s thing and then went in and then redonated all of this stuff right back after they wore it. So if you are around that weekend and want to just have a fun night out to learn more about Momentum Center, I definitely know that it is a fantastic time. I'll have to check my lacrosse schedule to see whether I can be there too. I want to know a little bit more. You were able to purchase the Rendezvous building, the old Rendezvous building. So tell me a little bit about what's happening inside of that building right now.
Yeah, that's been such an important move for us. It's more visible, it's more accessible, and it's more flexible. So in that space, we do have all of our member activities. We also have a community space. So that's where we have a monthly dinner and movie night. Second Friday of every month, it's free for anybody in the community. So we eat, we watch a movie together. We have our town halls in that space.
Okay.
It's also available for rental use. And that can include the kitchen at this point, too.
Oh,
There's a
that's cool.
full commercial kitchen. We have the VU Cafe operating right now. So coffee and cocoa and tea and donuts for $1 a piece. And within the next couple of weeks, we should be announcing somebody who's going to license that kitchen
Okay.
and bring some other services to that cafe. But it's open right now, 8:30 to noon. Monday to Friday to anyone in the public. We never want to be that building over there for those people. This is all about bringing us all together, recognizing we're all in this together and we all need each other to thrive.
It's so we've done a couple of these with executive directors of nonprofits, and I think every time those people has, like at this point, I don't know, I'm those people. Like everybody's those people. It's just those people are those people for.
We are all those
people. Yes. It's like, well, not those people, the Republicans, or those people, the Democrats, or those people, the this, or those people, that. I'm like, geez, Louise, could we just all be people inside of this space, please?
And we need to recognize how our well-being is tied up in each other's well-being.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we recognize that, when we're all working for the good of the whole, that's when we all will thrive and we'll all benefit.
I agree. And I think that, talk therapy is fantastic and works really well for some people. I can say through my own grief struggles and, losing so many people over a, short period of time in very difficult and tragic ways, I needed to study breath work. I needed to study meditation. I needed to be in circles where I could share. And now, having healed mostly, right? There's always a raw end to that space. From those things, the vulnerability that people will bring to me is one of the things that I honor the most in them. When they say I'm struggling and I need some help in these spaces, in most of this stuff that after paying, tons of money for all kinds of different therapies and things like that, what I learned was the simple things like walking in nature with a friend, or, the Buddhist practice of Tonglen and praying for other people who are in the same grief struggle that I'm in, sitting in meditation, prayer for me, deep breathing and mindful breathing, feeding my body good things. There's so many different ways to be able to get out of that cortisol spike, which I feel like everything is a cortisol spike right now if you allow it to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I originally wanted you to be here tomorrow, but there is a meeting. I don't know a lot, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which. I'm not spending a lot of time in the deep dive into some of the controversy in Ottawa County. Help me understand what's happening at that county level.
Well, right now we have a new Board of Commissioners that I think are invested in their job in managing the county, managing the business of the county, and making sure that people feel that they belong in the county. Prior to that, we had a commission that had more of a political agenda.
Yeah.
And what happened for us at the Momentum Center is we were regularly attacked at commission meetings and accused of things that were untrue, largely because of our work around inclusion, the LGBT community, addressing race, issues that we were advised by some of those commissioners
Okay.
to not do. We felt it was important that we be true to our mission, which is creating a safe place for everybody. And so we continue to do that work. But it's important that I be at those meetings because I don't know when something might be said about us that I need to stand and correct.
Wow. That's wow.
It's been a difficult few years.
I can't imagine. I mean, I guess that, like having to go to our association meetings as a, real estate broker or go someplace in order to protect my name and my team's name.
Yeah.
So it is getting better.
It
in
is.
your opinion?
It is. I think, we, again, need to stay vigilant. I think we need to continue doing that education in the community. And so I view it as an opportunity to make sure that the people watching those meetings
Yeah.
know truth. We're doing important work, and it's making a difference. We are research-based. We know that people are experiencing statistically significant improvements in anxiety, depression, loneliness, social connectedness, feelings of stigma. Our work is more needed than ever.
100%. I mean, I'm petrified in the statistics that I see. I'm always on Team Little People.
Yeah.
So just watching the suicide rates and the things that are going on with online bullying and the things that are going on with, all kinds of, as a parent, that you're maybe not even aware of sometimes are even things,
Yeah.
So having that education, I think, out there about where these holes are and where we might be able to show up as Christ Hands to Serve, I think is so incredibly important.
It is. It's critically important. And one of the values, again, that we bring to that spectrum, to that continuum, is that we are providing services. For every dollar we receive, we create a $4 return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
People need less costly intervention when they have that opportunity to be in positive community.
Right. And simply by giving, that's always been my thing is when I created our nonprofit, I didn't want to recreate something that someone was already doing a good job at.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was, we're not going to be about food scarcity because Feeding America does a great job. Josh Bitework does a great job. There's so many different, Kids Food Basket does a great job. Backpack Blessings. There's so many people who do a great job. I think that what is so important is, as you go out and you look at this organization, is it something that you can give time to, talent, treasure? But when I look at something and go, I can't add anything to that from a time or talent standpoint, so I'm going to give them some treasure and allow them then to expand on that, right? That's the we the people piece. I tell my kids, like, you can't die on every hill.
Yeah.
Mommy's hills are affordable housing and little people, education. Those are the two places where I've spent the most amount of time. I know what to do there, but I do prop up real quick in spaces of inequity where somebody is, I love a good underdog. I show up right away.
Yeah, and we do need to make sure that we're always embracing the people who are most in need.
Right.
And we have so many opportunities to do that. We have about 120 volunteers right now, whether that's helping out with a member activity or an outing, whether that's bringing a craft and demonstrating your hobby to other people, whether that's assisting at the town hall. And our next town hall is on mental health and housing, about the cost, the mental toll of housing instability, and the stigma that comes with being unhoused. So hopefully you and others will be able to participate in that on May 1st. And we also have opportunities for people, again, to engage in cultural immersion. We just did our civil rights road trip and brought 13 high schoolers.
So cool.
Yeah, and I can't think of a more important time in the context of what's happening in our country, to explore that history and know
Absolutely.
where we come from.
Yeah. So we can go to the VU and we can get donuts and coffee and tea and all those good things and maybe a little more. So watch for that to kind of transpire.
Yep.
People can show up and buy a ticket for prom with upper purpose, sorry, on May 17.
Yep.
May 1, I actually am at Gracious Grounds because those are on the same day. This always happens when you want to be in all the places as a philanthropist, but you can show up and learn about affordable housing. If you're not at Gracious Grounds, you can volunteer.
Yep.
What else? Anything else I'm missing? You can become a member.
You can become a member. You can donate.
Yes, you can just straight make a donation. You can come and get a tour.
Yep.
You can utilize the space at the new Momentum Center for a baby shower or any of the other things that might be going on in your life.
Yes, you can.
Anything else I'm missing? Oh, you can be a part of, you can go across the bridge.
You can go across the bridge. And we also have a location in Holland.
Yeah.
And we'll be moving in the next couple of weeks to a new location there as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, so how many employees right now?
We have 7 full-time employees, including myself.
Okay, and then how many members?
To about 270.
That's amazing. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for showing up in rooms where we need people to speak. I know it's a tough job. I say this to every executive director. It's really hard, I think, to have to explain and re-explain why something needs to happen to help someone.
And it's also incredibly rewarding to do work that
You all
makes a
say
difference.
that. You all
And-
say this. And it's why we know that we have the right people in the spaces, right? Like I only made it 5 years in teaching because I didn't have the switch. And that's why I said, I'm not watching what's going on, governmentally. My friend Kelsey Lombardo gives me all the local news and John gives me all of the national news, my husband, because I don't have it, right? Like I can't, it'll fill me up for the entire day and I will be, my eyes would snap open. I had a pregnant teenager sleeping on my couch when I was a teacher teaching alternative ed. I can't turn it off. I'm so empathetic and such an empath that I have such gratitude for people. My mother's the same way, right? U.S. Army Colonel, went to Iraq. I wouldn't make it a day.
Yeah, you do need to create those emotional boundaries.
Yeah.
You really do, or it will drain you completely.
Yeah, it's an amazing skill set and you all have it. And I do think it comes from the faith piece. And it's far better for me now because I realize I'm not in control of the universe and I can't just kick trash cans and be Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds. But I'm honored and grateful to call you friend and that you've leaned into this for so many years and made such a big impact in our community. Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you, Megan, for your support and for this platform. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Huge thank you to Rediscover for making this platform possible. Today, we've had Barbara Lee here from the Momentum Center. We'll post some links under this when we post it out there. And if you want to support positivity in practice, you can like us, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today.